Howdy, folks. I'm Nim Jickles, and this is the Ain't That a Bitch podcast, episode 6. I'm back in my basement, home sweet home. Honestly, this is a less comfortable recording position than on Johnny's bed at band camp. That said, it's definitely a lot better to be back now. I'm a lot less sick, considerably more stable up in the brain and down in the bodies. All that good stuff. Still sick, believe it or not. So this is a week later. The episode you guys will be getting today is from when I was in band camp, and it's, been actually over a week because I recorded that one a day early, or a couple days early. So it's been over a week now. Still not 100%, despite the efforts of Chinese medication, which I've been taking a lot. But I'm better. Not back to 100%. Still got my Kleenex with me. It's funny, I think the episode before last, I had Kleenex with me because I was sick, but it was a different sick. I got over that and then immediately got a fever again. Oh, my parents think it might have been flu or something, but whatever. Every winter, I basically get sick for the entire season. And then in the summer, I get sick or allergies or something for the entire season. Fall and spring are like a toss-up, It's like, I don't know. If it gets too warm, my body revolts. If it gets too cold, my body doesn't like that either. I just can't decide. I'm just completely falling apart physically at this point. And we touched on it a little bit, but like the fact that I wasn't even concerned at the start of last week's episode was because literally at night, sometimes if I stay up too late, my temples will just start to hurt, and like everything from my jaw up will just start being sore for some reason. I got some issue. I think it's one of those things caused by like grinding your teeth too much or something. Is one of those things where my jaw is just sore sometimes for no reason, and sometimes I can't eat certain foods like crunchy hard things like crackers or chips will just hurt when I try and bite. Like that kind of stuff is just blows my mind that my body can be that wrong. Like going downstairs, sometimes my knees just start to creak. If I try and squat down, I can just hear it go pop. Just that kind of stuff. It's like I'm too young for this. I'm 15. I shouldn't have these issues yet. But I do. Still not as bad as Rami, apparently. Again, we talked about this last week, but not properly. Rami, evidently, the guy's got like every kind of lung issue possible. Basically, everything that's going to make his life difficult to breathe, which is a really important part of your life, usually. He's got like asthma, and then he had some issue with his lungs, and then apparently there's a high chance he gets cancer or something. I guess it's in the family. So that's pretty great. Glad I don't have those issues, but I would like to not have my joints popping all the time. Would be nice. Yeah, anyways. Can't complain. Glad to be back more or less to normal. I gave my brother whatever I had, so sucks to be him. Same with Isaac, sucks to be him. That's what's nice about being the start of some kind of sickness or getting it first. It's always nice to watch other people get what you had after you've already gotten better. Because then it's their problem, right? And you got it done and over with. So I'm happy for that. Anyways, been back home for some time now, and things kind of boring. Black Widow teaser drop though. That was neat. I'll be honest, did not recognize the guy in that trailer. So if you don't know, or if you haven't seen it, you should probably go watch the teaser trailer for the Black Widow movie. So in it, what we got, we start out with some lines of Black Widow from like Endgame or something, and it looks like that we're seeing her in a time in between Infinity War and Endgame to me, right? That makes sense. I think so. Well, regardless, Yeah, she's got like the dyed hair. It's halfway between. So anyways, looks like, I guess after the snap, everyone or half of everybody's dead. And then she decides, well, what makes sense to do now? Go tie up some loose ends with family. I don't really know how she's figures out that, the half the people that died, none of them happen to be the people that she's gonna go look for. I don't know. I don't know the premises. It's only a teaser trailer. But, it's interesting. I thought it was going to be a further back prequel, like a origin story Black Widow thing. And it may be that it may end up being like, I don't know, like a Wonder Woman type deal where they do like flashbacks. Well, Wonder Woman, the whole thing was a flashback, so that doesn't count. But it might like go back a bunch to the past and then be mixing with. I really have no idea. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe prequel is just meant before Endgame. But regardless, well, obviously, because she's dead after Endgame, so I don't know why you would even need to say that. But it looked interesting. I'm not huge into like Black Widow as a character, so I don't really recognize. I know about the Red Room. I know about that, and then they had flashbacks teasing that already in Age of Ultron. But I don't recognize any of the people she's with. I get that it's like family in the symbolic sense where they were like trained at the same place. I don't know who the old dude is. I don't know what his like Captain Communist outfit is all about. I don't know what that means. One thing I noticed, I mentioned to my friend when we were discussing it, something to point out. So Natasha Romanoff, she's Russian, of course. They really tried to make her like as Russian as possible, like her name, and then her dad's name is apparently Ivan. Like, can't really get more Russian than that. But of course she has no accent because canonically in the comics she doesn't have the accent because that's kind of part of the deal is she's trained to be a super assassin, spy, killer person. So you can't just be going around with your natural accent. So she got training. She lost the accent. She can probably speak like she's from wherever, and she just does American because she's with S.H.I.E.L.D. All the other people in the movie don't have the same thing. If they were trained in the same place, you would think that they got the same deal, but nope, all Russian, all super Russian with Russian accents. I don't know. I guess if they stayed in Russia, it wouldn't really be an issue, but it just seems kind of odd to me. I also do wonder if they're gonna go with the thing of I'm fairly certain in the comics there's a thing where Black Widow was like was in some way enhanced. She was like in some way they stuck something in her that made her live for a really long time or something like that, so slowed down her body's deterioration or something. So she's like actually really old, or at least has been around way longer than like Hawkeye or some of the other guys. So I don't know if that's a thing. I swear it was a thing in the comics, but I don't know if they're gonna go there in the movies. Make it, I guess, a little more interesting, change things up a bit. Anyways, of course, biggest thing, been kind of working around. Taskmaster, it's confirmed, right, for the villain. At least one of the villains might end up being a crossbones situation, which would be too bad. But I'm excited. I'm a big fan of Taskmaster. I think he's pretty cool and has a neat little kind of story with him. I like that he's versatile. I like those kinds of villains like Claw and like what's his face? Well, anyways, I like those kinds of villains that are kind of more down to earth. They're not the Loki, Ultron level guys of like, we're basically gods and we're gonna try and rule the world. It's just like, I'm an arms dealer. I'm gonna try and rule, one city, which is nice because for Zero, that's why Spider-Man is so popular. He can fight these villains that are still really compelling and interesting, and like, but that, like, what are they gonna do on a big scale? That was the whole subplot of like Spider-Man: Homecoming, is Iron Man being like, you fight the little guy. Like, these guys are below our pay grade. They're not Avengers level threats, right? And then again, the whole deal with Far From Home was again just like some rando guy with some technology being like, we're gonna be with the big boys. We're gonna hit the big leagues. But no, it's like you're Spider-Man level. which is great. But then with this, it's even better because, let's face it, Black Widow and Hawkeye have always kind of been a little out of their league in Avengers level movies. It's like, what are you gonna do? I don't really get why Hawkeye gets all the slack, because honestly, actually, I think it was CinemaSins has made several jabs at the scene, the first group shot in Avengers when they're all land in New York, and it does the circle shot and showing all the Chitauri entering the city, and it's got in that shot like Black Widow just loading up her pistol, and it's like, and they've made fun of that so many times of like, oh yep, better load your pistol. That one bullet could save you from the entire alien army coming to destroy the Earth. It's like, yeah, that's kind of goofy. I mean, other than that, what's her skill set? It's like martial arts. Great. I mean, she's badass. She's awesome. That's great. I like her character a lot. But, Age of Ultron has done a lot to try and like develop Hawkeye's character and all that. And then further in game, and yeah, he hasn't always been the most compelling. Like, I know a lot of people didn't like Age of Ultron, so it doesn't really help. And then he just was completely out of Infinity War, so it's like Marvel's trying to diss him. But then he comes back in Endgame, and he gets kind of the Ronin arc, but then they cut that short too. By the way, I think there's going to be a Hawkeye show. If not, it makes perfect sense. A Hawkeye Ronin show. What I was suggesting is they get Kate Bishop. People have been talking about her, I think, coming in Phase 4 now. I've been thinking it would make a lot of sense for her to come in like Ahsoka style in the Hawkeye show, or Ronin, whatever they said to call it, and then die before the end of it, because that would just be like another thing to add to Hawkeye's like fuck everything kind of like ideal of the world come in game time. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. My point is, Hawkeye, he's nothing special. True. He's just a normal guy. But the bow and arrow thing, in situations where you're fighting like alien armies and robot armies and such, the bows and arrows are more useful than a gun. I mean, like, he's got the tactical whatever exploding incendiary special arrows. Like, some of those are pretty cool. You can do some cool stuff. Sure, from a standpoint, it's in itself not very realistic. We're like, this little thing, it's like 1 centimeter in diameter, and it's just gonna like send out an EMP that has a range of like a kilometer. It's not really believable, but at the same time, this is already like a comic universe. Meanwhile, Black Widow, it's like, really, what are you gonna do? Like, is a hammer fist to like a fucking titanium robot skull gonna do anything? She's got her fists and she's got a gun. She's got the Widow's Bite, which I guess comes later. I think, was that, I don't know if that was in Ultron. I know it was in Civil War. Might have been introduced then, which is neat. Again, what's it gonna do? It's like a taser, It's like, no rape. No means no. Does Ultron care about that though? Not so much. Meanwhile, Exploding Arrow, he took down the fucking helicarrier with that thing. Almost. Let's just show some love for Hawkeye, guys. Anyways, but that said, coming back to Black Widow, really can't do much. Like, in the final fight, in the New York battle in Avengers, basically they had to write her into relevance because, I guess the writers, in their excitement of like, this is an Avengers, this is the biggest like superhero thing, cinematic superhero thing in decades. And it's like, did you guys forget that you literally have Scarlett Johansson in your cast and she's just getting wasted because her character is literally useless in this fight? Like, oh right, she costs a lot of money. We should probably use her for something. Anyways, so then they gave her the role of like jabbing the stick into the reactor, whatever thing that was keeping the portal open to let the Chitauri in. Okay, that's great. Gives her something to do. It's kind of forced. Like, I'm fine with that being a thing. It makes thematic sense because you wouldn't want to be like, hey, Hulk, why don't we just take you out of this battle because someone's got to close the portal. But like, Hawkeye could have done that too, but they had Hawkeye in the battle. His thing was they got him up on like a building or whatever so he could be like eyes in the sky and stuff. That's his whole deal. What would Black Widow do in that situation? What, like, if they got Hawkeye to go stab the thing, what is she gonna do? Like, stand on the ground and just shoot her pistol? It's ridiculous. Look, no hate for Black Widow. Great character, love her. Not really any more useful than Hawkeye, realistically speaking. Anyway, I get it. It's a movie, like, whatever. That said, Taskmaster, reason I love him as a villain is he can fight pretty much anyone. Like, he's gone head to head with Spider-Man, Deadpool. Now it's gonna be Black Widow, which I don't think was ever really a thing, but kind of works. Again, it's just like he can go against pretty much anyone from S.H.I.E.L.D. Could have been like an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. villain if they ever cared about that movie or show. But then he can also go like tete-a-tete with I guess Iron Man, I think, at one point, and I mean, I already said Deadpool, so that's up there. But whatever, he's enough. He's intriguing enough as a character, but also like vulnerable enough that you can just have some fun beating the shit out of him. Again, same with Claw. It's like he's kind of fun to hang around for the start of the Black Panther. Give you some action start, and then again Crossbones, same deal. But like, then what are you gonna do with him? Except, when they put him in a Black Widow solo movie or whatever, she's got her team of Russian spies, then he can be the main villain for the whole movie. Because it's not like Black Panther, where if he actually fought Claw one-on-one, it wouldn't even be a battle. But in this case, Black Widow is Taskmaster, same as Black Widow and Crossbones. Like, they can actually fight each other one-on-one. Hell, even Captain America was almost killed by Crossbones. That being said, what's the deal? Like, Taskmaster. What are they doing? I mean, I know a lot of people have talked about this already, and by the time this comes out, it'll be old news. But come on, he has an iconic look for such a side villain character. It's like, and it's a really simple iconic look. Okay, it's a white skull mask with a white hood on. I know he got changed around a little bit, and they might be going more for that look in the movie. But in some later comics, he got something a little different. But the skull thing's always there, and the white skull looks so much better with the yellow eyes, and like the white hood is badass. And then he's got like some combat whatever gear stuff on, but basically it's a white hood with the white skull mask is what's iconic. And then they made him like blue and black in the movie or something. At least that's what they've shown. They might totally change it up. It might be like some temporary gear. It might be a setup to whatever. I have no idea. Who knows? Right now though, just kind of looks like a weird biker, like with anger management issues. Not so much Crossbones. So, hoping they fix that up a little bit in whatever way that they decide to do. It's Marvel. I don't know. But, like I said, I've already been somewhat anxious about going into Marvel Phase 4 movies. I really hope this is going to be a good one to start things off. That being said, guys, we're going like with Russians and stuff, right? That's the whole thing so far. Can we get Crimson Dynamo, please? Like, I'm pretty sure he's an Iron Man villain, but come on, Iron Man's run his course. We know that. Crimson Dynamo. Cold War wasn't really a thing because of the way that the Marvel cinematic timeline ended up working out. He's got a second chance now. It'd be fun. I don't know too much about the guy. Whatever. Seems like he could put up a little more of a fight than Taskmaster. That said, still super excited for Taskmaster. I think it's just going to be interesting. Anyways, kind of stretch that one out. I guess moving on. By the way, if you guys are surprised, then I don't know what for. It's your own fault. I've warned you from episode 1. This is going to be it. Like Marvel talk, Disney talk, like Star Wars talk, some shit like that. That's going to be the whole show. That's it. It's like 80% of what I talk about normally anyway. So if you're getting me to talk for an hour and a half, like a week, if I run out of topics or something, that's what I'm going to default to. Which, speaking of, like, I don't even know if there's anything else coming out. If there's any other movies or anything else like that. Let's just, I stopped watching movie trailers since I got an ad blocker, you know. That's basically, I used to see them on YouTube sometimes. Stopped watching cable television years ago. So where else am I going to see? Yeah, it's just kind of what happens. But I'm fine with that. I've been watching a lot less trailers. I said this with Aiden. No, sorry, that was on the episode that you guys are never going to see. So, doesn't matter. I can say it again. Yeah, but anyways, I've stopped watching trailers a lot. When I talked about this before, it was like when Part 2 was coming out, and Rise of Skywalker trailer was a whole deal. I never really talked about that because, again, that's lost forever. So I guess I'll go over it. Yeah, Rise of Skywalker stuff. You already know, not gonna watch it in theaters. I'm not watching any of the trailers. I just don't want to know. I don't want it. I'm gonna watch it eventually. I'm probably gonna try and pirate it not too long after it comes out. You know, whenever a somewhat decent watchable quality pirate comes out of it. But I just don't. The trailers have been recently exposing a little too much with these things, but also, like, I just don't care for some of them, and I feel like if I watch them, I might just want to watch it less, which I don't want to do. So I just avoid that stuff. I'm fine with not watching trailers, but I do want to know when they come out. Especially again with Marvel stuff, it's like okay, this thing's coming out soon, and that's good to know. So I guess I should be trying to follow movie trailers a little more closely. What I do is, like, every month or so, I just go on YouTube and watch one of those most anticipated movies of whatever the year is, and then I just watch that, and that's what I just get a bunch of trailers for that stuff. So speaking of, actually, from that I got the trailer for that movie that I know is coming out. Is that movie Spies in Disguise? Will Smith has entered like a Jeff Goldblum level of acting, where just like every 5 to 6 years he comes out of like whatever hole he hibernates in, is in like 2 or 3 movies, and then goes back to hibernating, and that's all he has to do. But Will Smith is gonna be a spy that turns into a pigeon, which I guess was probably a thrown out idea from a boardroom meeting for like Men in Black 4 or something. And they were like, we're gonna make an animated movie about it. So it's Will Smith as a pigeon, and his friend is Tom Holland, who's really just in it because he was Spider-Man. No offense, I think the guy's a great actor, but like, I mean, give him a British role, please. It's gonna be like a Benedict Cumberbatch thing or whatever. All his roles, they're just gonna get him to do like the American accent, because like, this is Spider-Man. People recognize this as Spider-Man. But I want people to act like, I get a little uncomfortable when actors act constantly with an accent, especially when it's an American accent, because like, Hollywood, you don't own everything entertainment wise. You leave the good actors for some other people. We need a few more British actors, good like actors who are for British movies, because right now there's like the ones in Game of Thrones, the ones in Harry Potter, the ones in both, and then that's pretty much it. It's like that plus 2 other people. That's really all I got going for them. Hollywood's already trying to steal Benedict Cumberbatch. Like, they made Sherlock, and they're like, he's ours now. We're taking him from you. And then they did like The Hobbit and that World War II movie. That might have been British, I guess. The Imitation Game. If you haven't watched that, that's a pretty underrated Benedict Cumberbatch movie where he's actually British. About like the mathematician dude that made the computer that helped them solve the Nazis' enigma for their codes or whatever. It's actually pretty interesting. Anyways, then they just made Doctor Strange, whatever, all that stuff, and then at this point Hollywood's like, Benedict Cumberbatch is ours now. You don't get to have him. Basically like what they did with Jackie Chan to China. Moving on. I still don't really have anything else to talk about, but there is something that I started to get into on an earlier episode that I never got to finish. So I'll go back to that conversation, which is spawned from when I was talking to my younger brother. Still ties into Marvel because I can't talk about anything else. But we were just talking about, well, I guess to preface, a lot of people have, issues with, like, Marvel's, the MCU's villains, you know? And it's true, some of them have not been the greatest. And at the end of the day, a lot of them, it's just kind of by virtue of the comics, they ended up just being, like, a color-swapped version of the hero, you know? I think Ant-Man and, what's his face? Fuck. Yellow Jacket. Yeah, Ant-Man and Yellow Jacket. Black Panther and, Killmonger. Iron Man and Ironmonger. Ooh, the names are real creative, too. Iron Man and Whiplash. Whiplash was a little different. He was Russian. But then, like, at the same time, it's just the arc reactor-powered suit of armor. Aldrich Killian, little different. Still disappointing. Mandarin would have been great. They made a show about that guy. But, like, yeah, anyway. Apparently it's going to be a thing. They do have a movie or a show or something coming with, like, Fuck Bitch and the Ten Rings. I don't remember her name. Whatever. So I guess that might get into the actual Mandarin. Hopefully. Dude, I'm still just waiting for Fin Fang Foom to be in the MCU. Never gonna happen. Whatever. So that was a little disappointing. And then you got, like, Captain America and Winter Soldier literally everyone just has the super soldier serum at this point. Like, by this point in the Marvel comic universe, I'm pretty sure every character has, like, some version of the Captain America serum. So that's a thing. Red Skull, not really a lot of connections between Red Skull and Captain America as characters. So that works. Still not a great movie in the end. It ended up being a lot of the stronger MCU movies had some of the weaker villains, which is too bad. Except, like, Avengers, the first one. Loki, solid villain, solid movie. A lot of hate, like I was saying earlier, for Avengers Age of Ultron. I personally enjoyed the movie quite a lot. It's definitely not as good as the first one, but it wasn't terrible. Villain, I thought was great. I thought Ultron was fantastic. A lot of people weren't a fan. Whatever, I don't know. Personal preference. Anyways, what was I saying? Loki and Thor, still a great villain, not a great movie. Thor: The Dark World, whatever. Forget that movie. But anyways, Hulk, Abomination. It's like they're the same. Anyways, they're even the same color. It's just, like, slightly darker. So villains, not like not always the greatest. Their best villains. Characters like Claw usually just kind of got killed off, or like Loki couldn't die. But that being said, I think the YouTube channel Full 5 Videos, which if you haven't heard of them or seen them, they got a little big with the rise of these reviews of movies, especially Marvel and Star Wars movies, which has of course been a really big platform for people lately. I like their stuff. It's, like, pretty thoughtful and well thought out, you know? They're not just, like, rage or rant channels or just yell about their opinions on whatever. They really go into the making of a movie and think about, like, all the process that went into it, you know? How there's a writer who affected the way things happened. There's an actor who affected the way they portrayed things. There's a director who, it's not just, like, one person's fault. Anyways, I like their videos. They mention at some point, or I think they have a video on, I think it's them, on how Guardians of the Galaxy's weak villain, Ronan, not the most threatening or compelling of villains, but how his weakness as a villain is one of the reasons why the movie works, because of course it's still a great movie regardless, because it lets you have more of the focus on the team developing, the protagonists. And then, of course, Guardians 2, which also I think gets a little more hate than it deserves. Again, not as good as the first one, doesn't make it a bad movie. Also has a better villain. Ego provides an actual thread, and is also like a intriguing character himself, just being, Quill's father and stuff. They throw a little bit of away because, like, Quill never really gets like that bond of he's my dad, I love him, and then like immediately throws it away once he switches over to like full evil mode, which is kind of an issue that some Marvel villains have, but whatever. He was good up to that point. Kurt Russell, phenomenal actor, love the guy. So anyways, that was something that was interesting to me. But really, like, all I have to say is that Marvel villains, like, as bad as they get, not worse than DC. Like, come on, I'm sorry. And I started saying this in that last episode that you guys aren't gonna get, so I guess I can run back through it. When I was talking with Aiden about it, and how DC gets a lot of DC fans have their thing of like, yeah, well, the movies aren't great, but come on, they got better comics, they have better animated shows, better video games, and it's like, okay, you're mostly right. I will give them that their anime shows are generally better. Marvel hasn't been very ambitious in that area, so you can't really make comparison. Video games, never really played a lot. I heard a lot of good things about Injustice, so I'm sure it's good. Really, the only thing I have for comparison is like the Lego Marvel games and the Lego Avengers games, which I think are great, but whatever, that's totally different. So I don't know about that stuff. Comic-wise, I was unfortunately born at a time where I'm a little bit late to get into comics, which I think is unfortunate because I think a lot of them are very interesting and well-made. And the movies, you know, with being born at the perfect time to watch Marvel movies and DC movies if I wanted to, which I don't. But being born at that time, I can't really get into it because it's just the thing of like, oh, this is one plot line. It's like 80 comics long, you know? It's like, oh, this such and such volumes each with this many issues. And it's like, where do you even start? You know, you can't just go to a comic store anymore and be like, I want the first one. like I want the first one with this character. I want Captain America, the first comic. Like, you can't just, that shit is like, whatever, you find those at like collectors shops, pawn shops, not comic shops. So that's unfortunate, you know. I got some hand-me-downs from some of my uncles that were into comics back in their day, and they all had girls, so I get all that stuff, which is nice. And you know, they're fun to read through and just look at, like, this is where it came from. But you can't. There's no story that you can follow. Like, they're so short, and it's so little in so little space, and you need like 8 books to get like any kind of coherency out of it. So that's unfortunate. But I don't know. You make do with what you can. That said, I do like, okay, this is gonna be the worst thing like that I have ever talked about doing on this podcast, which is saying a lot, and that is, in my spare time, sometimes I will literally just go on to like the Marvel fan wiki and just read wiki pages about characters or plots. Well, I don't know, whatever. I do that. I'm a nerd. I know that. And I just want to know more about this stuff, so I just go on like Wikipedia or whatever and read about that stuff. So I'm fine with that. But anyways, I do that so I can find out more about some of these characters, but sometimes you don't even have to go that far. So what I was trying to get to, I got totally sidetracked, but like a lot of DC fans, and it's fine if you're a fan of DC, but they try and defend like, yeah, the movies are bad, but that doesn't mean Marvel's better than DC. But like, even disregarding the movies, yeah, it is. DC is worse than Marvel. Like, there's just no denying it. And it's as simple as just the characters. Now, look, I don't know a whole lot about DC characters, but basically what I hear is it's actually not that different from the movies, which is, you know, if you watch any DC movies, like if you watch a good volume of them, you probably are at the point where you're aware the only good really recent DC movies are maybe Wonder Woman, it was all right, Aquaman was bearable, and The Dark Knight. like the second one, The Dark Knight. That's pretty much it. The Dark Knight trilogy people like love. You like The Dark Knight. Let's face it. Batman Begins was passable. Dark Knight Rises was just weird. The Dark Knight, great movie, phenomenal movie. I have no idea what happened to the rest of that universe. Like, it's one thing to be like, one good movie, how was the rest of the trilogy so bad? I mean, that's like the Star Wars prequels, you know? Revenge of the Sith, great movie in every capacity, like comedic meme ability, but also it's just a good movie. It's emotional and has good action. 1 and 2, you can't sit through them. So one movie out of a trilogy being good, one good movie out of a terrible trilogy, understandable. One good movie out of an entire universe is a bit much. And it's not, the worst thing is it's not even canon. Batman, he doesn't even get a movie. There's look, I get upset about these things when things are so simple and easy, but then people making the corporate decisions decide to make it hard, okay? I talked about this with Mandalorian last week. There's been 7 Batman actors. There's been 6 different movie series and shows and 100 animated shows. There's been I don't know the order, but there's been the George Clooney Batman, Tim Burton. I think Tim Burton's Batman was Michael Keaton. They've had big actors doing that. Christian Bale was the Dark Knight, and then Ben Affleck was is the canon one. There's been so many Batman actors for so many different Batman series. The actual Justice League DCEU canon doesn't have a Batman movie. They just skipped it. It was like Marvel doing another Spider-Man movie, okay? Which, by the way, people talk about Spider-Man getting overused. There's 3 Spider-Man series. There's 7 Batman series, okay? And all of them are pretty bad, let's face it, except the one movie, the Dark Knight. And yet, they're we're going to get Ben Affleck as Batman. But it's Marvel going, okay, now we're going to do our own Tom Holland Spider-Man. And everyone's already seen all the other Spider-Man movies. So we're going to cut out the origin story, just get right into post-Civil War Spider-Man. It's I'm already Spider-Man doing Spider-Man things. Except DC took that and we're going to cut out the entire movie with Batman and just get right into Batman versus Superman, even though we've never had a previous interaction. There was never the Nick Fury moment. There was never the Batman movie where with the post-credit scene or whatever, the news story in the background of Superman, saves millions, but hundreds of thousands die. Hero or villain, and then to introduce anything. We have no idea that Batman exists in the Man of Steel universe. But then he's just ready to fight him? Batman vs. Superman is a terrible movie for so many more reasons than that. But that makes me upset because The Dark Knight was a great movie and they cut it out of the can. Was there any reason to? The end of the Dark Knight trilogy, I don't remember because all of Dark Knight Rises is a haze. But he's still well, he might have dropped that thing. But he's Batman. He survives, right? That was the whole thing. Was oh no, he dropped the atomic bomb, but he's harder to kill than Superman. He's still alive at the end, drinking coffee or something. Fine, he's still alive. Why did they just cut him out? And there's no reason to do it. It doesn't make any sense, but they did it because the DCEU sucks. DC Comic Universe, is it much better? I don't know. But from what little research I have done, it seems to follow a very similar trend. The Batman Joker, the Joker is a super compelling character and made the new Joker movie, by the way. He got his own movie, okay? Even freaking Harley Quinn's getting her own movie. And that's with how bad Suicide Squad did. But are the rest of the characters that good? Superman is almost more compelling in the movies than he is in the comics because he actually dies in the movies. Superman, yeah, I know he dies and then there's a return or whatever, revival of Superman. And it probably happens 100 times. I don't care. Death of Superman, whatever. It's all meaningless. Superman in the comics is just completely unkillable. He gets to the point where he's literally a god. He has no weaknesses except kryptonite, which basically becomes obligatory, at this point in the comics, if you were to read one now. just gets more and more powerful every comic they write about him. He's like solar powered now, and he's got a thing. Like, it's just jack shit crazy. He can absorb, there's a certain type of sun that makes him gay. That's a real thing. I swear to God, you can look it up. There's like, if he like gets the power of like a pink dwarf sun or something, he becomes gay Superman. Look, nothing can kill him or at this point even hurt him. He's faster than the Flash, which makes it completely pointless of having a super speed guy on your superhero team who's slower than the guy who's just everything. He has ice breath. Why? 'Cause he can. He has the laser eyes. He has all the most generic superpowers which make no sense except like flight and super strength. I guess those make sense. Laser eyes are only a thing because of Superman. Why would you shoot laser beams out of your eyes of all places? Nothing comes out of your eyes. That's like ancient Greece times thought. We already like, this is 8th grade science. Shit goes in your eyes, not out. Ice breath. Completely random. Is he Sub-Zero? No. Why does he do it? The super hearing thing, literally one of his abilities is being invulnerable. The invincible Iron Man is more invincible than the just everything Superman. Why does he have the super hearing thing? Like, it's one thing. Look, and there's no gauge for it. It's just like, it's literally as powerful as that storyline needs him to be is how powerful he is, okay? It's literally like, in the original comics, when he first became a character, it was like, oh no, a person like halfway across the city is in danger. How will Superman get there on time? Well, he's good thing he's got super hearing, so like, you know, when the generic damsel in distress is going, help Superman, he can hear it all the way from his whatever office in the Daily Planet. By the way, the superhero from Marvel Comics works for a newspaper, what do they call it? The Daily Bugle. Totally random because newspapers have random names, like whatever. Fucking Superman works for a newspaper. What do they call it? The Daily Planet. The entire fucking planet's news is on this paper, apparently. Like, that's not realistic. All right, like people make fun of Marvel for being like, oh, DC's got all these like different cities where their superheroes come from, and it's like Marvel has New York. That's it. Yeah, but that's because it's realistic. New York is a real place where shit happens. Like, the world building is realistic. The character building is realistic. None of the characters are fucking able to do anything except like cosmic beings. But if you get to that level, celestials and cosmic beings, there's other cosmic beings and celestials to counter them. With Superman, what do you have? Fucking, okay, a character called Darkseid. That's what you have. You know what? What a stupid name. I don't even care anything about his powers or like what Darkseid's character is. I just stop at the name. And maybe you'd say that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. But if the cover is absolutely covered in shit, then I don't care what's on the inside. His name is Darkseid, spelt Dark S-E-I-D. Darkseid. Darkseid. Darkseid? What is he, a fucking German philosopher? Darkseid. And then what planet is he from? Apocalypse. Apocalypse spelt with like a K or something. I mean, how stupid is that? Darkseid from Apocalypse. It's like, Marvel has done some dumb shit. But come on, they did not name a character who is a man that is really great, Superman, and a man from the water, Aquaman, and a man who dressed like a Batman. Like, look, they have Spider-Man, they have Iron Man. What are the rest of the Avengers called? Captain America, Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Black Panther. Like, you have the Flash and Green Lantern. Wonder Woman. By the way, Wonder Woman, what does she have? An invisible fucking jet. You can see her. Even in the cartoon, you can see her in the invisible jet. Remind me again how the DC cartoons are better than Marvel's. She's an Amazonian. She's from the Amazons, like the ancient Greek tribe of warrior women. But she has... Well, first of all, she dresses in an American flag bikini. Second of all, she deflects bullets with her fucking wrist decor. Okay, with her jewelry. Yeah, that's a strong female character. She deflects bullets. Her entire body does not get hit by anything, which, by the way, most of it is skin revealed because she's blocking shit with her wrists, which if you've ever heard of someone who uses their wrists as a shield, please tell me. And then she lassos people with her lasso of truth, which is great for interrogations and nothing else. And then flies in an invisible jet. None of that makes any sense to be put together in a single character. Those are literally things pulled out of a hat and then written onto one sentence. Like character who is based off of ancient Greek mythology, has bullet deflecting wrist gauntlets, a lasso of truth, and an invisible jet. It's a fucking ad-libbed character. Makes no sense. Green Lantern can do absolutely anything that he can think of, so long as he has the will to do it. Well, you know what's funny about that? When you're about to die, you probably have the willpower to do just about anything. It sounds to me like he's also able to do anything he wants, except beat Superman. Only Batman can do that. That's right, Batman beats Superman, even though Superman is unbeatable. Well, when Batman and Superman fight, Superman is pretty beatable. I never actually finished that thing where I was talking about Superman having his super hearing and it like goes across Metropolis. Well, then like later in the comics, okay, he's like 18 universes away from Earth, and they're like, Superman, we need you, and he hears it fine. It's the exact same thing. So if his hearing is that good, then can you please explain to me how someone actually having a conversation face to face doesn't blow his ears out? And look, I know there's a thing where Superman like repressed his powers because I don't want to be a superhero, and over the years he's like slowly unlocked them more and more, which is why he got more and more powerful. But you cannot tell me that after that point, after we got into more recent comics, when he's got that super hearing, he can really just turn it off. I find that unlikely, but maybe he can. Okay, I'll live with it. Nothing else makes sense. It just, everything piles on top of itself, just more and more bullshit. One of his main villains is just Lex Luthor, a dude with a lot of money. That's all he is. Every time they fight, it must just be like, and now my new plot to defeat you, Superman. This is more kryptonite. Yeah, he just bought more kryptonite. By the way, Superman's one weakness is kryptonite. It's the shit that his planet is like made out of or whatever. It's like, it's radioactive kryptonite or something. Just sounds to me like Superman's allergic to radiation, which aren't we all, right? But seriously, the radiation reacts with the kryptonite or something and it creates the thing. Are you telling me there was never a Chernobyl on Krypton that like fucked people up? The entire planet would become a death trap. It would be inhabitable. Can you imagine if it was like humans' one greatest weakness is radioactive dirt? Radioactive everything will fuck us up. I mean, it's not our one weakness just because we don't like radiation. So Lex Luthor, all he can do against Superman is just like, now it's kryptonite in gun form. Now it's kryptonite in liquid form. Like, it's just different kinds of kryptonite. What does Batman do to beat Superman? More kryptonite. What? I only watched the movie or whatever. So he gets like kryptonite spears and kryptonite. It's also, by the way, he's got the kryptonite, like, I guess the only kryptonite that's kind of out there in the open world in the time of this movie. And it's like, Master Wayne, what are you going to do with that? How are you going to defeat the strongest man alive, who's also not a man? You have kryptonite. How are you going to use this to maximize your effectiveness of using it? I'm going to make a spear. That's right, Alfred. I'm going to make a spear tip with kryptonite. Spears. Superman's second greatest weakness. Little known fact. He made a spear with it. And like a gun. Or something. Why? The movie sucks, but the characters are flawed to begin with. Batman beats like everyone. If you've ever watched a death battle, Batman versus anyone, he always wins. What's the explanation? Oh, well, Batman's a super genius. Batman with preparation time can beat anyone. Wrong! Reed Richards is probably smarter than Bruce Wayne. Tony Stark is probably smarter than Bruce Wayne. Hank Pym's probably smarter than Bruce Wayne. The Marvel Universe is full of super geniuses. They're fucking able to solve anything. Iron Man solved time travel. They can do anything that they put their minds to. But you can't beat someone who can literally, when it's a physical battle, okay, you're not fucking taking Superman to the spelling bee, all right? He can flick Bruce Wayne and he will die. There's no way to prepare against that unless Batman builds a super bat bunker. There's nothing. He's super strong. That's one of his things. Now I get it. In Man of Steel, he's nowhere near as powerful as in the comics. But that means the comics are actually more unrealistic than the movies. In the comics, they fought. In the comics, Superman's probably fought every superhero at some point. How? How is it even a fight? You cannot tell me that Bruce Wayne can legitimately super brain himself a bat armor that is not going to be like Superman comes up to it, freeze breaths it, and then just like taps it with his fist and it gets exploded. You cannot tell me that would not happen. What is Batman going to do? He's faster than him. He's stronger than him. He's more super than him. He's powered by the sun. All he has to do is fly to the sun in like half a second and back, and then he's basically an atomic bomb. He could destroy the entire world sooner than he would defeat Batman, because Batman is apparently invulnerable. Batman is possibly a worse and more overpowered character than Superman, which is wrong. Superman was written to be overpowered. Batman is just fucked up. Batman and Superman are terrible characters, and the fact that they are the flagship characters of the DC universe says a lot right there, right off the bat. Wonder Woman is just stupid. Green Lantern, I don't even know what's the deal with him. Since this movie flopped, they really are trying to pretend like he doesn't exist. I personally don't understand why Aquaman's the one that gets all the hate. He's the only one with like a realistic, believable set of superpowers. He should be on the Justice League and like a bunch of other people at his level. Him and Cyborg and like the rest of Young Justice and the Teen Titans. They at least are believable because they're at human levels of power. Well, not human, they're superhuman. But like they're not at levels where they could just destroy the universe in the snap of their fingers, which is basically everyone else on the Justice League. For some reason, even Batman. Aquaman, I still don't know what Aquaman does. I watched the movie and it's like, okay, he's a dude who can communicate with fish and he can breathe underwater. Like, once he's out of the water, does he have any superpowers? He's not like Percy Jackson. He can't control water, I don't think. He's just a mermaid man in real life. So it doesn't really make any sense, but like at least he'd probably put up a pretty good fight against Taskmaster. Oh, I can use this trident really well. Well, I can use this sword and shield really well. Well, then it will be an even fight. Him versus anyone else in the Justice League. Why would they be on the same team? That's literally what I was saying. It's like Black Widow and the Avengers are a big gap. But that would be like, that would literally just be like Iron Fist, okay? Or like, you know, any of the Netflix Defenders, any of the Defenders, you know, fucking, okay, let's just take Jessica Jones. I don't even know what she does. It's like, I'm good at martial arts. I'm a really great detective. We're going to put you on a superhero team with Doctor Strange and the Silver Surfer. Why? Why am I even here? Can Aquaman really fight Darkseid? Or like whatever the fuck, Doomageddon, whatever that guy's name is? Any of those people? It doesn't make sense. And it's not interesting. I don't know how people read any comics with like any Justice League comics, because Batman comics, Batman is Batman powered and he fights characters that are suited to fight Batman. Characters like the Joker who attack him psychologically, characters like Bane who attack him physically. He has to outsmart them every time, and that's how he gets the upper hand. Superman fights equally stupidly overpowered characters. They might as well just blow up the earth constantly in Superman comics for all that it matters. He fights Superman-leveled powered villains. When Batman and Superman and a handful of the other jerk-offs get together, who are they going to fight? What does it matter? None of their power levels are in any way matched. If you had one of those Super Saiyan power level reader things, if you tried to look at the Justice League as a group, it would just break. It would just go, whoop, up, whoop, all the way down, whoop, whoop, whoop. You'd blow up. There's no point. It doesn't make any sense. DC Comics make almost less sense than their movies. And their villains are stupid. Green Lantern fights Yellow Lantern and a bunch of other fucking rainbow colors of lantern. Batman basically fights Spider-Man's troop of villains. They're actually different and interesting. That said, he still fights characters like if you've watched the Lego Batman movie, every single one of those villains is real. He fights a character called Man-Bat. It's a man who tries to make himself Batman by turning himself part bat. Does he actually think that Batman is part bat? Is he really that stupid? He fights characters like Condiment King and Zodiac Man, and those are real. And not Narwhal, fucking Killer Whale or something, Orca. Those are all real characters. Those are real Batman villains. Batman's villains are stupid. DC's villains are stupid. There's a character called Gorilla Grodd. He's a really smart gorilla. That's it. That's all he is. That's stupid. DC makes very little sense, and it's just not interesting to read, because every character is either stupidly powerful or stupidly weak. None of that's interesting to read about. Marvel comics are interesting, and their characters are interesting. Their characters' names often have thought put into them, or if not, they're purposely made to be ridiculous as a joke that works. For example, Deadpool. Deadpool's a character who's supposed to be funny because of how stupidly overpowered he is, because he's completely impossible to kill. He once killed the entire the Marvel universe. Even with that, he's not overpowered. Having enough damage being dealt to, if you, I believe, just shoot him in the head, simply, he loses all his memories. And that severely nerfs his abilities. Wolverine is the same. He can't be killed, but he can be stopped. They put him against Magneto, which is basically the worst thing for him. But then there's the rest of the X-Men that help out. Wolverine and Deadpool can have an excellent one-on-one fight with another superhero. Even someone like Taskmaster, who's really not all that super. Because their superpower is just not dying, which means that they're never going to lose, but it might take them a really long time to win. Characters like Howard the Duck and Squirrel Girl are really stupid and dumb, but Marvel knows that, and they make it funny. And so it is funny. DC does not know how stupid and dumb it is sometimes, and it thinks it's very serious, but it's not. It's also pretty stupid and dumb. So that's what I was trying to say about DC. I think I had a few more things about their characters and some of the other ones that are really dumb. But that's fine. I guess I can save it for another day. Regardless, yeah. Oh, well, alright. I might as well do it. So there's another character that DC has. It's a superhero. His name is, well, it used to be Captain Marvel, and now it's just Shazam because of legal reasons. Now I won't get into the legal battle between that. I don't know if Marvel really should have won that lawsuit, or if DC, because they came up with it first. Doesn't really matter to me what he's called. He's also possibly one of the dumbest characters that DC has. If you don't know, which I didn't for a very long time until I watched the Death Battle, I already knew, what I knew about Shazam before then was he's a kid and then he yells Shazam and he becomes an adult superhero. So first of all, this is already like taking the whole Spider-Man question, morality question, and taking it to the extreme. Like putting a 15-year-old kid on a superhero team of adults who are constantly having their lives put at risk. Is that morally responsible or not? After all, he's a minor. He can't make these decisions himself, but Aunt May sure as hell isn't signing any permission slips. That said, Shazam is like 8 or something. He's like a 12-year-old boy. And when he says Shazam, he becomes a full-ass adult. He could be out doing any adult things. He probably drinks alcohol when he's Shazam. And he's just on the superhero Justice League team. Like, whatever. And he's really strong. He can take care of himself. That's fine. But first of all, that's already dumb. Shazam keeps his child mind when he becomes an adult. Or when he becomes, Shazam. They've made that clear. And yet they still expect us to believe that Shazam could act anywhere near like an adult when he is Shazam. He actually goes and he fights like an adult. Like he fights supervillains. He has conversations with the Justice League and does things with them. Are you kidding me? Whenever they're not in the middle of a battle, Shazam would be in kid form sitting in the hallway on timeout, okay? Or like playing with Robin or something. By the way, Robin, also a minor that Batman has roped in several times and gotten killed for his shit. Which, by the way, other issue with Batman, I guess I'll come back to it later. Back to Shazam. I already thought it was dumb that they just had this little boy who was a superhero for some reason. It's like it was an interesting premise, but then someone, while writing a character, should have said, alright, let's stop. We gotta make this character kind of a joke, or at the very least, a minor character, so that we don't get ourselves into too much writing trouble with having a kid who's a superhero. But instead of stopping and thinking that, they were like, let's go ahead and make this not only a kid superhero, but also one of the strongest superheroes and put him on the fucking superhero team. So they made that decision, and that was the wrong decision. And they did write themselves into issues. And so here's one of the things. I've more recently found out that more about Shazam's power set. First of all, did you know that Shazam is an acronym? That's right, it's not just a stupid thing the boy says. They actually retconned it so that now it's a stupid thing that he says that has a bunch more stupid words mixed in there. The S stands for Solomon. The H stands for Hercules. One of the A's stands for fucking Apollo or something. The M stands for Mercury. The Z stands for Zeus. The other A stands for... fuck if I know. Basically, first of all, they just mashed together Roman and Greek mythology and names like nobody's business. Mercury and Zeus and Hercules all together. Why? Well, because they had to make it fit with the acronym. I guess Shazach didn't really have the same ring to it. That would be if they used Hermes instead of Mercury. And so what do these names mean in this acronym? Well, Shazam's powers come from each of these people, right? All right, that's believable. Wonder Woman is an Amazonian, so we know that these mythological worlds do exist. Same thing with Marvel and their Norse. They have Thor. So Solomon, who's Solomon to start with? He's some smart guy. So Shazam has the wisdom of Solomon. Hercules, you all know. I guess he's really strong or something. He has the strength of Hercules. Or the will or something or other of Hercules. He has the speed of Mercury. Hermes is the messenger god. That makes sense. He has the lightning of Zeus. Okay. I was going to give them a pass and say, the Shazam lightning thing is just, it's just a coincidence that it's very reminiscent of the fact that Zeus is the god. No, it's the lightning of Zeus. It would be kind of like if in Avatar: The Last Airbender, when they were discussing the 4 elements, they were like, here's our 5 elements in Avatar: water, air, earth, fire, and lasers. That's kind of how Shazam was written. It's like his abilities are going to be all these virtues of man: wisdom, strength, speed, and also lightning. All the things, all the natural human physical attributes to their max. He's going to be the fastest man, the smartest man, the strongest man, and also the most lightning. Just your usual human attributes. I don't remember what the other things are, and frankly, I don't care. But that's all that's really important at the moment, because let's talk about what that means. So one of his things is strength, or like bravery or something. That's kind of Superman's thing. All right, well, we got another super strong guy. That's fine. Almost every Marvel superhero has some kind of enhanced strength. I can live with that. He's also got the speed of Mercury, which means he's really, really fast. He also flies, by the way, so he can fly really, really fast. Do you know who else can fly really, really fast in spandex with a logo on their chest? Superman. That's interesting. I don't think he has the hearing of Hercules, so he doesn't have the super hearing thing, or laser eyes, but he does shoot lightning. He's also got, he doesn't have the frost breath of Frozone, so I guess that's not a thing. He does, however, have the wisdom of Solomon. What does that mean? Well, there is a real comic panel that they pulled up in the death battle when they were discussing Shazam and his powers and whatever. There's a real panel where he's having a conversation with Superman about whatever fuckhead they're fighting. And Superman asks him, how do you know that? And he says, I just know things. So that's canonically his ability. He freaking knows things, all right? He's got wisdom up in his brain. So I guess that's kind of part of the explanation for why he's able to act like a mature adult once he Shazams. He's a kid normally, and then he becomes Shazam, and he suddenly knows everything. Now, here's another issue where we really gotta know what the limits of this are. How much exactly is everything? Or is it everything? I don't know. Again, maybe if I read the comics, it would make a little more sense. But what it seems like to me is he knows whatever the plot needs him to. To be fair, Spider-Man often has the same issue with his spider sense. He can detect bad things before they happen, but only when the plot needs him to. Still, there's a big difference between having really good reflexes and literally knowing anything that thematically you need to. New villain? I know how to beat them. So why are they a problem? Oh, this guy turns out to actually be evil. I already knew that. Then why was it a twist if you already knew? There's a real issue with characters being omniscient, and that's why it never happens. But DC decided, fuck you guys. We can do whatever we want. So they did. So he's fast and strong and flies, basically a Superman ripoff, which the world doesn't need Superman ripoffs, except he's not solar powered, he's actually runs on a diesel engine. So he's really just environmentally unfriendly Superman, but he also knows everything. So although he can't hear the generically victimized woman screaming across Metropolis, he knows it. He's just not going to do anything about it because that's Superman's job. What I'm saying is, Shazam is really stupid as well. And I haven't watched the Shazam movie all the way through. I watched a little bit of it on a flight. It was one of those stupid in-flight entertainment systems where they just play whatever fucking movie they want and you gotta tune in and watch it from where they are playing it instead of actually being able to select it yourself. So I watched some of the beginning and I watched some of the ending. The beginning is essentially everything that you see in the trailer for it because I actually watched the trailer for that. And the ending is just whatever. The villain he fights is some guy who has an eye. Alright? It's a blue eye. And monsters come out of it and fight for him. And that's it. And that makes no sense. And so, one thing I can say is, at least it's not just a Shazam color change. Other than that, I don't understand why it would be a good villain whatsoever. Why would you write a villain where their whole spiel is, they're kind of weak. They have all these demons in them that makes them really strong. And they can let the demons out and they fight. Are the demons like Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse shit? I guess they're probably something like that. Like, oh, this represents fear, this represents jealousy, anger, hate, whatever. I don't know. I don't know the whole deal with it. They look stupid. Okay, back to why the DCEU sucks. They just look like Muppets, honestly. Non-threatening, dumb Scooby-Doo villain puppets. But even in the comics, this makes no sense. He's just a man with a bunch of monsters that helps fight for him. He stole the Vulture's, like, fashion sense. Just a bald guy with fur-lined coat. He doesn't look cool. He doesn't seem cool. There's nothing good about him. And she's supposed to fight Shazam, who I don't think this is the case in the movies, but supposedly should know everything he needs to know. In fact, there's a moment at the end of the movie where they realize once he lets all those demons out, he becomes weakened. He loses the powers that they give him or whatever. Oh, that's convenient. Why didn't he already know this? He's supposed to have the wisdom of whoever the hell Solomon is. So why is this an issue for him? Well, because the movie recognized that it's a stupid character from the get-go and we have to nerf him. So Shazam is stupid and DC thinks otherwise. Now, back to what I was saying about why another character was dumb. And I don't remember who. Do you remember who I was going to come back to? There's another character that I had an issue with. Well,
no doubt, unmovable.
Well, I can't remember it, so that's alright. You know, I really didn't think today was going to be the entire conversation on superheroes, but, you know, I'm fine with it. I've been wanting to say that for several weeks about why DC sucks. Honestly, that's really all I have, and that's all there is to it. I could go on, but we've had a good time mark here. Something I did want to plug real quick at the end. Something that we really recently did in our LA class is a little project on Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. And the assignment was to you take several lines from the play, but we can paraphrase them into any way that we want, turn them into modern English, and work them into a performance of some kind that doesn't have to have anything to do with Julius Caesar. So what my group and I decided to do was, well, we recreated the scene of Caesar's assassination in the style of an anime fight scene, specifically modeled after a JoJo fight scene. If you don't know, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is an anime that's very popular recently. The performance was hilarious, and it was very good. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. It wasn't perfect, because as with everything, it was Aiden's fault. We gave him the simplest of jobs. We told Aiden that all he had to do, because we're sure he's a terrible actor and a terrible fighter, and is way too white to learn any Japanese phrases, all he had to do was narrate the intro, which he did fine, because it was a script that was sitting right in front of him, and then just run the music in the slideshow to go with it, with subtitles and such. All he had to do was hit spacebar on one keyboard and spacebar on another keyboard, one to start and stop the music, and one to make the slides go forward one. That's all he had to do. How he managed to mess it up is far beyond me. In fact, he wasn't even able to make it to today's recording, which means that his attendance rate has now dropped down to something like 40%, whereas before he had the astounding and also passing grade of half the time showing up. So Sean's here again today. Thanks, Sean, for being actually reliable. Also, as I was saying, Aiden fucked us over for a presentation. Now, I'm sure the presentation still did fine overall, marks-wise. I'm not worried. But I wanted to record the thing and put it up on my YouTube channel. And I am going to do that, but not before we fix all the heinous mistakes of Ballard. So, coming very soon, we're going to be re-recording our performance in the same room with all our same setup. I guess I'll have to release it after this video comes out, otherwise it won't make sense. I'm going to be putting it on this same channel because this podcast is not the only thing I'm going to do on here. So please check it out, and I hope you enjoy it. Whether you like or know about anime or not, I think you'll find it quite amusing, and everyone understands a couple of the Japanese phrases at this point. So we're going to re-record that. Aiden hopefully won't fuck it up. And actually, I have been meaning to ask, Sean, you're in photography, right?
Yep.
We were wondering if you could come and do the filming for us, since honestly, from the get-go, there was already an issue with the kid we had filming it did not do a great job.
When do you want me to film it?
We're thinking Monday at lunch, if not just sometime next week during a lunch period. We'll tell you. You don't have to prepare anything other than a like your phone camera will be fine. And all you have to do is just show up to that one lunch period, and then it'll be done and over with.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Sean. But otherwise, yeah, hopefully that's going to come out at some point. And I think it's going to be really funny and really great. So please try and go over and check that out. It should come out. I'll try and time it so that it comes out basically at the same time as this. And also, if, you're new to this whole deal, try and, consider, subscribing and shit. I know that's always annoying as hell when people put at the end of their YouTube videos, don't forget to like and subscribe and jack off and come on our comment section. I don't really care. But, we put in a lot of effort into this thing. Me and Sean, not Aiden. He doesn't try at all. So I don't give a shit about Aiden, but try and support the two of us. The main thing is, for the people who actually enjoy this, and first of all, what kind of a sick fuck are you? But if you do like it, do remember to subscribe, because I know a lot of people that actually enjoy this podcast and then just can never find it again because, let's face it, believe it or not, we're not that big of a deal. And also remember that if you just search up the title of the podcast, Ain't That a Bitch, you're almost definitely not going to get the podcast. So please try and remember that the channel is called NimJ Entertainment. That is NIMJI Entertainment. And so I know it's our fault for choosing a fucking retarded name that no one can spell, but you'll have to excuse us and just try and remember. And since you will probably forget anyways, you might as well subscribe to keep that remembered, You really don't have to ring the fucking stupid notification bell because we try and release every week. Although maybe you will have to because thanks to Aiden and sometimes Sean's mistakes, they never come out on time. But we try our best. So thanks, guys, and ain't that a bitch.